States, there's much more diversity of view allowed in Hungary than in the United States, much more. Just count the publications and their partisan affiliation, and you will see it's much more diverse in Hungary. So there's not a lot of self-awareness on display ever on the left, but particularly not today on the subject of Viktor Orban. A senior correspondent at Vox offered this assessment on Twitter, quote, "For the whole country to be dumbed down by propaganda, it's crazy. They literally brainwash people. In the countryside, they just repeat the state media's stock lies. There are only a handful of independent media outlets, and they are hard to find." It's just too great. They're always talking about themselves. Meanwhile, back in the United States, Silicon Valley CEOs openly admit they suppress any speech the Democratic Party doesn't want to hear. Here's, for example, Twitter's new CEO.
Our role is not to be bound by the First Amendment, but our role is to serve a healthy public conversation. And our moves are reflective of things that we believe lead to a healthier public conversation. The kinds of things that we do to work about this is to focus less on thinking about free speech, but thinking about how the times have changed. One of the changes today that we see is speech is easy on the internet. Most people can speak. Where our role is particularly emphasized is who can be heard.
Oh, so that's how it works. So you show up in our country as an adult, become wildly successful, take over one of the most important institutions in American life, the nexus through which all of our ideas flow, and then you announce without shame that you could care less about our Constitution, and you seek to strip us of our constitutional rights. And you don't seem embarrassed as you say that. What are we watching here? We're watching someone who has an unassailable monopoly. That's what people with monopolies talk. They don't care what you think because they have a monopoly. Here's the good news, and that's why we're celebrating tonight. That monopoly is ending. Candace Owens is the founder of the charity Blexit. We're happy to have her join us tonight. Candace, thanks so much for coming on. So we're watching two monopolies fall tonight, and I, for one, am celebrating both.
Yeah, and we should be celebrating it. Honestly, it was such great news to wake up to on a Monday morning, especially because it's been followed by just back-to-back abysmal news, that it seems like that way at least. But the one thing that I want to say here is that it's more than a threat to free speech that we're talking about when you're looking at Twitter, and this is why what Elon Musk is doing is so important. I mean, we're talking about a threat to free and fair elections. They've censored information that is critical in terms of people being informed about people that they're voting about. When you talk about the Hunter Biden laptop, which still has not been unpacked fully, we're still avoiding the more important parts of the conversation pertaining to that laptop, and they're only now admitting it because it's been years later and the guy that they wanted in the White House is there. They labeled this as misinformation, right? You're talking about also a disruption when they censor speech, a disruption to the free markets, right? They censored any and all evidence about things that pertaining to the vaccines recently. They knew it caused heart inflammation, but if you said that, if you said my child had heart inflammation, you were banned. Your account was censored. I particularly used my account to talk about all of the women that were talking about irregular menses, and at that time, it was hit, and it says misinformation until months later, finally, the FDA decided to acknowledge that, yes, this actually is happening, which means that we're not being given control over our own life because they're deciding on the narrative when it pertains to our health, when it pertains to the conversations. Even right now, you're seeing that they are forcing us to want World War III, right? They have decided that World War III is now the thing that everyone needs to get on board with. So you cannot say anything critical of Zelensky, even though 2 years ago, all they did talk about was critical things regarding Zelensky. You had the Washington Post writing articles claiming that he was a part of the global elite. You're not even allowed to say the global elite anymore on Twitter without people accusing you of being anti-Semitic, despite the fact that this was language that was used by the left 2 years ago. They rewrite the rules every single day, and it's impacting our conversation on a national level, but also an international level, which is why I am so happy to see that Viktor Orban won. It's great because he is standing up for values. He is staring those people in the face and saying, we don't care what you have to say. You are exactly who we are trying to fight. We understand the corruption when you stop looking at what impacts and helps people on a national level, and you instead demand that you have this global monopoly taking shape. So, you know, kudos to the people in Hungary, and hopefully, as you said, this is indicative of a major sea change in America as well.
I hope that's right. If you want to know who the underdog is, ask yourself, who is Google and Apple and the State Department not supporting? That's the underdog right there. Candace Owens, I appreciate your point. Thank you so much.
Thank you.